Coming this fall from SJS Direct in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. You can pre-order your copy of The Man Crisis today on Amazon.com. Recently, Shawn Amanat, the Vice President of Content and Character Development at Marvel Comics, wished on Twitter that the entire nation could sue President Trump for emotional and psychological abuse. And I have to wonder, where does she see this emotional and psychological abuse? Because on that 2016 election, all I saw was just another election. Now, what your Shawn Amanat and many of these far leftists don't understand is that in the United States, we, the people, choose our President of the United States. And we choose our President of the United States by going out here and voting for our President. And as our people out here go out here and vote, there is going to be a winner and there is going to be a loser. And we, the people, chose Donald J. Trump to be our President of the United States. Now, 2 years after your Donald J. Trump was chosen by we the people as the President of the United States, it's just sad to see your Shawn Amanat still upset over the fact that Donald Trump is our President of the United States, and she believes that we need to sue him for emotional and psychological abuse. When there is no emotional and psychological abuse, she just needs to get over the fact that Hillary Clinton lost the election. And this is something most Americans just need to understand about elections. There's going to be one winner and there's going to be one loser. I didn't see people getting this upset and talking about emotional and psychological abuse when George W. Bush won in 2000, nor did they get all upset when George W. Bush won once again in 2004. Neither did people get upset when Barack Obama won in 2008 and again in 2012. So I'm wondering, where is all of this emotional and psychological abuse coming from? And I believe it's coming from the fact that we have a group of people who grew up in America who have no education regarding our American election system, the understanding of our United States Constitution, and the understanding of how this country runs. Nor do they even want to go back and look at the demographics of the 2016 election. Because when I take a critical look at the demographics of that 2016 election, I see not only 95% of white males voting for Donald Trump, I saw 60% of white females voting for Donald Trump, 30% of Hispanic men voting for Donald Trump, 30% of Hispanic women voting for Donald Trump, and at least about 6 or 7%, I believe, black men voting for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump won in several demographic groups, and the one demographic group that your Shawn Amanat and many people refuse to acknowledge is the fact that Donald Trump won 60% of white women here in America. They'll sit there and talk about the cis white males being the ones who elected Donald Trump, but they won't say a single word about that 60% of white females who voted for Donald Trump, or that 30% of Hispanic men and 30% of Hispanic women who voted for Donald Trump. So when I take a look at the demographics, they show me that there was no emotional and psychological abuse, just a lot of people who decided to go and vote for Donald Trump because they critically looked at Hillary Clinton's campaign and her promise to continue supporting Barack Obama's policies that were completely ineffective when you really look at them, because your Barack Obama refused to take a stand on anything. And I believe personally, had your Barack Obama actually directed his Attorney General to go after George Zimmerman, Hillary Clinton might have won the election. But because your Barack Obama did nothing about George Zimmerman, this is what led to the whole decline of Hillary's campaign, and it led to, because she ran on Barack Obama's legacy. But because most of these people are emotional and aren't looking at the facts, they are talking about emotional and psychological abuse because Donald Trump ran a campaign that spoke to the American people. Donald Trump ran a campaign that people could get behind. He galvanized his political base, and he went out here and he came out with a victory. And these people still can't deal with the fact that he has a victory 2 years later. Now, I'm no Donald Trump supporter, and in many ways, I don't believe that he was qualified to be the president of the United States. But in our United States, we, the people, are the ones who choose our president. And because we, the people, have that choice, that is what makes us special and unique out of all the countries in the world, is that we, the people, can go out here and make that choice. And any person can go out here and run for president of the United States. And that's something that a lot of people just don't appreciate in this country, the fact that we have these freedoms. And what's sad to me is the fact that so many Americans are taking their freedoms for granted. And they're getting all upset talking about we need to sue Donald Trump for emotional and psychological abuse, when all of these Americans just need a hard check. They need to sit down and get out of their feelings and start taking a look at how great their country truly is. The fact that anyone can be a president of these United States, and that we need to start appreciating the value of the laws of our land. But because we have so many spoiled, entitled people, there's like Sana Amanat, they're sitting there believing that there's emotional and psychological abuse, when all that happened was we had an election and the candidate you liked didn't win. And that's just part of life. There are winners and there are losers. And your Sana Amanat shouldn't be talking about Donald Trump's emotional and psychological abuse when she's literally running Marvel Comics straight into the ground. If she spent more time focusing on developing content and characters at Marvel, she would be in a better place. Because when I look at that company is in a state of free fall. Sales are at an all-time low. Customers aren't very happy. And the product is the worst product it's been in since the inception of the brand. And the advertising and things that she does, talking about lifestyle and entertainment brand, are not really helping the Marvel Comics brand. And instead of looking at the plank, the mott in Donald Trump's eye, she needs to look at the plank in her own eye, and she needs to start focusing on cleaning up the mess at Marvel Comics and not focusing on an election that has already transpired 2 years ago. Donald Trump has been the president for 2 years already, and we need to be focusing on making Marvel Comics great again. That's what your Sana Amanat should be focused on, fixing Marvel Comics and making sure that it is a brand focused on making great comics. But instead, she would rather talk about how there's a boy problem at Marvel Comics, and even though most of the people who go out and buy comic books are male, and talking about how she wants to turn Marvel into a lifestyle and entertainment brand, when Marvel has always been known to be a publisher of comic books featuring action and adventure targeted towards boys. So when I look at your Sana Amanat sitting there talking about how she wants to sue Donald Trump for emotional distress or whatever, it just shows that this woman clearly has become unhinged, and she's more about her feelings than focusing on the business of Marvel Comics, because that's what Disney is supposedly paying her for, going out here and taking care of the business of Marvel Comics. But she's more concerned with Donald Trump that she cannot focus on business. And if that's the case, then your Bob Iger needs to get a backbone and some stones and let this woman go, just like he needs to let Kathleen Kennedy go, because if they're not focused on making dollars, then it doesn't make any sense to keep this person at Marvel in the management position that they're in. As it relates to Donald Trump, there is no emotional or psychological abuse. What we have is a group of spoiled Americans who just don't understand our American Constitution, don't understand America's legal process, nor do they understand that when we have a presidential election, there is a winner and that there is a loser. And when you lose, you have to accept the loss. And the sad part is that we have a group of people in America who just cannot accept the fact that Donald Trump won the election. And by Donald Trump winning the election, it doesn't hurt anybody in America at all. Because we've lived through numerous presidents that people didn't like. I knew people who did not like Ronald Reagan. I didn't like George H.W. Bush because I thought he was ineffective. And after looking at Bill Clinton's policies, I wasn't a fan of his either, because his telecommunications bill of '96 destroyed American media and led to the complete collapse of legacy media. And I wasn't a big fan of George W. Bush, nor was I a fan of your Barack Obama. But the president, to me, is who he's going to be. And again, if you don't like the president, we the people who did not go to vote in the 2016 election need to go and show up for the 2020 election. Because one of the big problems I see of many of these people who are so butthurt over Trump winning the election is that every time you ask the critical question, did you vote in the election? Most of those people say, no, they didn't vote. And if you're supposed to be so upset about Donald Trump, then you would think you would have gone out of your way to take the time to register to vote, or go out here and then after you register to vote, go vote in the election to ensure that the candidate you wanted to win won. But the sad part is, many of these people who are upset about Donald Trump took our country so for granted that they couldn't appreciate the power that we the people have to choose our president of the United States. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you could donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct books, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.